How's it? All right. So I think it's very valid to do scales and get those fingies in the right positions. So what we're going to be doing is just taking a quick look at the open C, the secondary C scale, the third C scale, and then the fourth C scale. The third and the fourth are the same. We're just using different fingerings for it. It's going to make you independently strong on your second and your third finger while keeping the agility between your first and your fourth with the movement of the frets. The third type of scale just helps you move up the fretboard, and the first two scales help you keep centrally located. So if we're in like something that's a G, C, D, you can do most of your G there, C, here, and then your D. So if we keep it located, it's easier to get around the fretboard below the third, third to fifth, fifth to seventh, seventh to ninth, ninth to 12th. And what you'll notice in between all of these is we'll have these pentatonics. Some will be major, some will be minor, some will be, actually we can even have diatonic ones, which actually turn into a type of mode in the diminished scale. Long story short, where we're at this week is just the C's. So if we're in tune, my C, I should have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. No sharps, no flats. With the open notes, it looks like C on the third fret, open D, E on the second, F on the third, open G, A on the second, open B, and then first fret for the C. Once you get that pattern, it's interesting to do like a 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, 4, 6, so on and so forth. And then once you do 1, 2, or 1, 3, 2, 4, try maybe 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 1. In that fashion, you'll develop these little 1, 2, 3s and maybe 5 notes. C, D, E, F, G. When you do those over and over and over, just subconsciously, you develop muscle memory. So that's the first type of exercise. And then you'll notice in your scaling and in your soloing, when you have like a, you'll have, you'll intrinsically know where the seventh to the first resolution is. You'll intrinsically know where the half, the flattened third into the major third for the, and then the seventh. You'll feel the dominant seventh. We'll go over all these things on how to take the major to the major seventh, dominant seventh, 6, flat 6, sharp 5, 5, flat 5, 4, 3, flat 3, 2, and your 1, or raise 1 or flat 2. All these have their different place with these things called modes, which we've touched on a little bit, but we'll be getting into that a lot more in the future. So our secondary C major wouldn't be starting with our third finger, it would be starting with our second finger. We're going to want to stay centrally located, as we talked about. We're going to have 3, 5, 2, 3, 5, 2, 4, 5. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. C with our second finger, D with our pinky on the 5th fret, E with our first finger on the 2nd fret on the D string. Right after that, a half step, then a whole to the F, and then a whole step to the G. G goes up to the next string over there to the A on the 2nd fret. A is going to have a weird stretch because we're going to be using our third finger here for that B, which is going to be our last note before we resolve into our C. In total, all those, when you put their triads with it, first, third, fifth, it sounds like a C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished. It's a weird one, but it's fun. And then C major. And if you build out all the triads just where they are by writing out C major, no sharps, no flats, you'll find that all of the letters when you do your 1, 3, 5s line up to be those. So in C, you'd have your C, E, and G. In D, you'd have your D, F, and A, so on and so forth. We talked about that briefly, but that note knowledge and fretboard knowledge comes after we understand that C, C, F, 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 G, G, and all those have their octaves. Once we see where those are, all the pentatonics make sense around it because those are startings and finishings with those note structures. So basically patterns and then scales make music with dynamics and note structures and chordal structures, choices of different inversions. So that was our first with the C, E, F, G, A, B, C with the open notes. This is our secondary scale starting with C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And then our third one is going to start with the first finger on the 3rd fret on that C rather than the 3rd or the 2nd. We're going to have 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 4, 5. The first way of playing it, you're going to be using your 1st, 2nd, and pinky. 1st, 2nd, pinky. And then you're going to be using your 1st and then your 2nd. The second way of playing the scale is to start with the 1st finger as well, but don't use your 2nd finger as a stretch, but use your 3rd finger as the middle finger. C, D, E, still 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7. And at this point, you'll notice that your 2nd finger is lined up directly over the B for that resolution. Fun? So we've got all of those will help develop muscle. And if you could do them all together as I did, as soon as you get done, you should feel some tension right here inside of your muscle grouping. That's great. That means you're doing it the right way. Anywho, it was great seeing you this week. What we're going to be doing is putting a couple more of these ideas together and strengthening the idea of moving up. Using that same C major to move all the way up through all of the different C here. We've got the C here. We've got a C here, a C here. And all of these correlate with those different groupings that we were talking about. This one would have the C, this cage system of which we speak. This would have a backwards looking feel, but this is still a G, because if I barred the whole thing here, I would have that. So this one, and then this one, which is the E, right? And then we've got our C up top here, which looks like our C again, or our backwards D. And what I can tell you is we've got this one as well, which looks like our A. That could be also up here. Sorry, this acoustic gets a little funky at the top frets. Anywho, tie all these together, but it really starts with the foundation of getting those. Remember when we're doing our picking over here for the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, you're going. It's called alternating picking. We're going to be going up and down. You know this. The faster you do this with a metronome, the faster you do this, doesn't really matter. It's the idea of letting your fingers bend and feel the strings and getting used to playing all these together in time, in real time. And that's what we're going to be working on. Anyway, it's good seeing you, and I'll see you at your next session. Thanks for picking up an extra session this week, and I will see you this Saturday. Cheers.